fail. Purify.
Hello and welcome to our build guide for the fans of meaningful and engaging combat. The cold spellcaster archetype is unique among other builds. As there is no single standalone spell that can be used endlessly on its own, you will want to use and mix most of them at once. Their unique strengths and features require specific use cases to unlock their full potential. For your basic spell, you can use Ice Nova or Frostbolts. The Ice Nova deals a low amount of damage, but has great area coverage, and possesses a massive bonus for freezing enemies. The Frostbolt features a projectile-based playstyle but becomes competitive only once you acquire the quite expensive Snake Pit ring. The Frost Bomb and Frost Wall can deal a decent amount of damage and provide utility such as cold exposure, but are limited by a short cooldown. The majority of your damage comes from triggered comets and Cold Snap, which can only be used against frozen enemies. The Ascendancy choice is flexible. The default recommendation is Stormweaver, which grants you a lot of damage and allows the use of the Chaos Inoculation Keystone. The Blood Mage offers an easy solution for the mana management and some critical strike bonuses. The Lich can achieve the best survivability, but it comes at the cost of damage and a considerably higher budget. The long list of skills might sound intimidating, but the natural flow of spells makes it quite easy to adapt. Your gameplay will definitely be more challenging than the average build, but it makes it more engaging and satisfying once executed properly. The defense comes from a large amount of energy shield. Thanks to the Chaos Inoculation, you are immune to chaos damage and bleeding. To recover it, you need to avoid taking damage for a few seconds, which suits the methodical gameplay of this build. The clear speed is decent thanks to large area coverage with Ice Nova and Falling Comets, obliterating entire packs of monsters. The damage is good enough for rare enemies or map bosses, but fighting pinnacle bosses at higher difficulty levels requires a lot of effort. Currently, spells are undertuned compared to attacks, especially the ones using Tangletongue Spear, and thus more expensive to get going. They are very dependent on your rare items, especially additional spell gem levels. The Malagaro's Virtuosity are not necessary for build functionality, but they affect the decisions you make on your passive tree and support gems. If you want to use Frostbolts, the Snake Pit ring is mandatory, but it is redundant for the Ice Nova variant. The Malagaro's Virtuosity limits your potential critical damage bonus to just 300%, but allows you to pick up a lot of powerful notables or support gems that grant critical hit chance at the cost of critical damage bonus. The Nightscale gloves provide an absurd amount of mana regeneration, but you will have to pick up a lot of critical damage bonus on items and passive tree to compensate. Their main upside is the very low cost on the market. The Snake Pit disables projectile piercing, which is necessary to make Frostbolts explode upon impact. Without it, this spell deals a very unimpressive amount of damage and struggles to freeze enemies. Chevronne's Satchel Belt allows you to recover energy shield without waiting for the recharge to start or having to pick up the Eternal Youth Keystone. However, it is hard to get enough resistances without a rare belt. The gearing for casters is very simple and straightforward, making it quite competitive on the market. To improve your damage, you shall seek increases to spell damage, bonuses to gem levels, cast speed, and critical strike chance. You will also need mana and mana regeneration. Defensively, you only need to cap your elemental resistance and get as much energy shield as possible. On your wand, you should prioritize spell gem levels, critical strike chance, and increases to spell damage. For spells, additional gem levels are the most important modifier, but you shouldn't neglect other modifiers just to get one more level. The focus is quite similar to your wand, but it doesn't grant as many gem levels. Instead, you can get defensive modifiers such as energy shield or elemental resistance. The Sigil of Power spell is obtainable only through staves. Its modifiers do not matter that much for your damage, but extra cast speed makes placing Sigil or curses much faster. The rings can increase your cold damage a bit, but it is a much better idea to get tons of cast speed to smooth out your gameplay a lot. You will also need the usual resistances, mana regeneration, or attributes. A rare amulet is the final source of spell gem levels. You should also get some bonuses for energy shield, critical strikes, resistance, or attributes here. You can also get extra spirit to use more cast on freeze setups, but it is very expensive. The body armor provides the majority of your energy shield. Make sure to get a lot of it here. It can also speed up your recharge or grant extra spirit. The helmet is a great source of energy shield, but it also can boost your critical strike chance. It should also grant resistance or attributes. The movement speed on your boots is a mandatory modifier. Make sure to get at least 30% here. Other than that, it should provide the usual defensive modifiers. Your belt is a great source of resistance, allowing you to pick up more offensive modifiers on your remaining gear pieces. It can also grant you charms to deal with annoying ailments. Your jewels should improve your energy shield, increase critical strike chance or spell damage, and raise the energy gains. It is recommended to have at least one jewel that recovers mana on kill. Ice Nova deals a moderate amount of cold damage in large areas with a massive bonus to freeze buildup. To use Ice Nova at a long distance, you will need the astral projection support, which works very well with the spell cascade as well. The ambush is very useful for mapping, but can be replaced with blind against bosses. If you acquired Snake Pit Ring, you can use Frostbolts instead. They will explode upon impacting an enemy dealing area damage, which often overlaps if you add extra projectiles. To do so, you will need to use the Wild Shards and Scattershot support. The magnified effect helps with overlapping explosions, which is the main damage source of this skill. Frost Bomb places an icy bomb that explodes after a short delay, dealing a large amount of damage. It is limited by a cooldown and inflicts cold exposure on all enemies. The fast forward support makes the bomb explode faster, but it also affects the cold exposure debuff. It is not a big problem, as you will want to cast this skill as often as possible anyway. Frost Wall conjures multiple ice crystals that block movement. Once destroyed by monsters or yourself, the crystals explode, dealing cold damage. The Spell Cascade support is a great option for both Ice Nova and Frost Wall, but you can use it only once. You should swap those gems around for better damage against pinnacle bosses, but it is not necessary during normal gameplay. Comet deals an immense amount of damage, but the very long cast time makes it very hard to use it manually. You should trigger it with a meta gem. Freezing enemies grants you energy, which is used to trigger linked spells. For bosses, the cast on crit is more effective, but requires more spirit. Thanks to the unique gloves, the pinpoint critical gives a massive boost to your critical strike chance, and the downside does not apply. You can use another damage support instead of inspiration, but it very quickly drains your mana. Cold Snap consumes freeze on enemies to deal large amounts of cold damage, but has no effect if monsters are not frozen. It is rarely used, so you can buff it with various effects. If your critical strike chance is high enough, you should use the Hourglass support instead of Excise. This spell can also be used to detonate Frostbolts, but it still requires frozen enemy to deal Cold Snap damage. Hypothermia is an elemental curse that massively lowers the cold resistance of your enemies. It costs a lot of mana to use, so you might need to use a lower level at first if it stops you from casting your main spells. The usual curse supports greatly enhance the effect of this spell. Paired with the second weapon passive set, it takes away almost 60% cold resistance. With the Arctic armor active, melee attacks against you trigger an icy burst of damage to the attacker. You will have to disable it against pinnacle bosses to enable the cast on crit setup. You can use some support gems to improve the damage of the counterattack, but at this point the list of useful support gems is quite exhausted. Mana Tempest empowers your spells with extra lightning damage but quickly drains your mana. Try to synchronize it with your burst. The Lightning Mastery increases the amount of lightning damage you gain, while the Premeditation empowers your spells with even more damage. The Sigil of Power spell is granted by your second weapon. It massively empowers the damage of your spells if you stand in the circle and spend mana. The Persistence gives you more time to power up and benefit from the Sigil buff effect. The Magnified effect can also be useful here if you need to move a lot to dodge incoming abilities while maintaining damage. Blink replaces your dodge roll with a teleport. You should use it on your second weapon set to save spirit and use on demand by weapon swapping. The Valley of Titans quest can decently improve your charms, which are very useful to deal with stuns and freeze, especially on energy shield builds. The Venom Crypt quest reward also helps with stuns. It is much more useful than the small amount of mana regeneration. At the Cruel difficulty you should get the slow resistance. It is not very impactful, but the other options are even less useful. During the campaign, you will gradually unlock more cold spells as you level up, which will help familiarize yourself with their combos. Freezing enemies will be hard at first, but the cold snap can be used to immediately detonate your frost bolts, which will be your main source of damage. A rare staff with a freezing shard spell will be a great help as weapon skills cost no mana, but its damage is too low for the endgame. The final passive tree is made to pick up all the necessary notables that grant you spell damage, critical strikes, and mana regeneration, while also maintaining a decent amount of energy shield and its recovery. You will also want to improve the energy gains for your meta skills, so the Comet can trigger more reliably. If you want to use Blood Mage or Lich Ascendancy, or simply don't want to level up a new Sorceress, you will still rely on Energy Shield as your main defense, but you will have to remove the Chaos Inoculation Keystone and get Chaos Resistance on your gear. Thanks to the dual specialization sets, you can massively improve the effect of your curses without losing the investments on the damage for your spells. The duration nodes should also be split. The reduced duration is very useful for Frostbomb, while your Curse and Sigil of Power benefits more from increasing their duration. The Spellcaster playstyle is not as powerful or efficient as some other builds, but it can definitely be more fun to play. If you enjoy that playstyle, we encourage you to give it a try. We wish you a great day and see you soon in the next video.